Welcome to this week's update video. We started to harvest the crops which we had left from last year, plant some plants finally into the ground, finish up our raised bed, did some questionable yoga positions. We're reviving our irrigation system from the winter sleep and put it to use, and continued to work on our secret project. The last of the cabbages now finally have to get out of the ground. We left them over winter as they are frost hardened. These are now picked and put into the first boxes of the new year, and we have to make some place in the beds, so they have to go. We didn't end up with too big of a harvest, but still it is a harvest and more than we thought we would have. We've been consistently taking care about our plants, repotting them, weeding them, watering them, and generally doing caretaking for them. And finally, the first cultures now can arrive in the market garden and be planted, which is a very pleasant feeling after that time. Also, the seedlings which we put directly into the ground are already sprouting. In this case, it's carrots. A project that has been with us for the last 2 or 3 weeks is our raised bed, which we want to have against snails. We're filling it up with multiple layers. At the very base there is branches and leaves, then there is some sawdust, some half-rotten grass and hay, and on top there will be a layer of compost.
Genau.
Wenn der rote Punkt klingt.
Ja, genau. Wenn eine Zeit unten steht, dann nimmt's auf.
Good to know.
As we had a quite decent success with the small tunnels to keep away the insects which were mulching on our cabbage, we intend to create more of them with some questionable methods. But hey, as long as they work, it's fine.
Aber es ist ein gleichmäßiger als der gedoschen.
As we still have some plants standing from last year's planting session, not all the tunnels are yet fully covering the beds, but here you can see how they are looking right now. As we have mentioned and you have already seen, we have planted and seeded quite a lot of wedges already, and they all need water. So we started to dig out the pump and parts of the irrigation system. For now it's enough when we use a hose for watering them, but later on, latest in May, we will have to put up the whole irrigation system again. Although thanks to the morning mist, usually our beds are very wet. Although when the sun is out, we have to water them at noon. Otherwise, the direct seeded plants will die off very fast, as they need constant humidity on the ground. And thanks to a lot of help in the last 3 weeks, we continued on our secret project and made quite some progress. So much that we can now, in this episode, tell you, or better said, no longer hide, what it's gonna be. But first, there were a lot of joinery to cut and a lot of beams to plane. Thankfully, we had more than 5 people helping out in the last 3 weeks to get this process done very fast. What's here on the workbench is the main cross beam of the new roof of this project. And separately next to it you can see me cutting the cross beams which will be on that roof as well. We will have a lot of steps that we have done in this weekend covering in this video. Not all of them we can or will describe, as this would go way too much length. It's more likely that we're gonna do a separate project video. But for now, we are close to revealing what it's gonna be, as here you shortly can see us putting together the first beam of our new wooden greenhouse, which we've been building for weeks. As you now have seen part of the construction, which is the roof, we were focusing on the columns, which are holding up the roof, of course. These have already been planed off camera and now have to be put to the right thickness, which required us running them multiple times to the thicknesser, while on the other side of the workshop, the joinery or the creating of the joineries was going on. As I have some kind of a weird fable for unnecessary complex joinery, we created a little jig to be able to use the router to put in the new joints that we needed. This happened 5 times to 6 times per side of those beams, and in total there were 5 beams, so a lot of joinery. Talking about unnecessary complex joinery, this is the upper part of the columns which will hold up the roof. And I just hope that I got the geometry right on those. To create that part of the joinery, I first cut off the top of the column in a 6-degree angle, then rounded over the corners on that angled surface, which made it necessary to use a sanding machine to get the corners correct again. Then I had to draw out some lines where I wanted to cut with the circular saw. So what's the part of the joinery that I want to get rid of. And finally I used a chisel and chisel out the middle part, hoping I kept the angle of 6 degrees as well. And as this was so much fun, we continued doing this 13 times. Yay! I just hope the next time before I start constructing any new wooden structure that we need, I rewatch this video and remember to make an easier construction, which makes more sense. But lucky for me, I had a very nice helper or helpers who made easy work of all that tedious and unnecessary work. Then finally it was time to start the foundation. And here I did the next mistake. We promised ourselves after digging the foundation for the first greenhouse, we're never gonna do this for hand. Then we dig the trench for our internet cable, and we promised ourselves never to dig again from hand such a big amount. And guess what I did? That said, I have to be honest, it was not that bad. In half a day we dig more than 50% of the foundation, and therefore it was quite a nice workout. So I do think in another 4 to maybe 6 hours we would be done with digging the foundation, which you shall see coming up in the next videos. As our new greenhouse will be standing on the old septic tank, which are out of use but still collect rainwater, we suck them out, as we haven't been sure if they have been properly cleaned after they've been decommissioned. We brought in a suction tank, sucked everything out to have it properly disposed. Something that we haven't done yet but will have to do is use a kercher and clean it all out. That's gonna be a funny part. And of course we need some gravel for the new foundation, which we got delivered just in the week. This is gonna be the update on the not so secret project. Now there is a short clip following from the current state of the young plants in the greenhouse. Enjoy! And with that, we're at the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it and stay tuned for more updates.